Hello, everyone, and welcome to Your Cup of Joy. I'm your host, Ariana Joy Christie, and I am so glad that you are here. This is a space to inspire, to learn, to grow, and to challenge. Get ready to fill your cup and spread a little joy along the way. Okay, Alana Kayfetz, founder of Mom Halo and the Kayfetz Method. Welcome to Your Cup of Joy.
Woo! Babe, thanks for having me.
Of course. I'm so excited that you're here. I think we met at like a Nick's event a while ago, and now we've stayed connected online.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I love it. You just have this incredible community and you share online, and I just love what you're doing for people.
Thanks. I love what you're
Yeah.
doing for people too. I actually don't know how you do what you do in a day. You're remarkable.
Well, I feel the same for you. So outsider's perspective always, I guess. But I want to start by chatting a little bit about Mom Halo because I think it's just so impactful. It's how I kind of got connected to you and learned a little bit more about what you're doing. But give us a background of Mom Halo, how it came to be, what it is.
Yeah, sure. So my name's Alana Kayfetz. I'm the owner and founder of the Mom Halo community. We are one of the Canada's largest networks of moms, and primarily millennial moms is our bread and butter. And I was postpartum with my first baby, who's now 8, in 2017. I was like pretty upset about motherhood. I was like, what is this? Did not sign up for this trash can fire of a life. And I was looking for my girl crew, and everywhere I went, I was like going places actively trying to find community, and I just couldn't find my peeps. And it wasn't until I put like a Facebook message or something being like, hey, I'm looking for like a crew of women who want to come over to my house and just like socialize. So bring your babies and your bottles and your boobs and your wine and something like, I don't know, stupid like that. And 20 women showed up and they're like, what's the
Oh my
catch? What
gosh.
are you selling? I was like, there's no MLM, there's nothing, just like having a good time. And from there, like that's the origin story. We ended up having events every single month in Toronto's coolest restaurants and the venues. And it got so crazy and so big. We had to find like a venue that could host hundreds and hundreds of people. And we ended up hosting Mom Fest, which was our annual sort of signature large scale, like 2,000 women event. And this all started from like me wanting to take my baby to an event that was like really curated and really beautiful and had food and wine. And they were saying like, you can't bring your kid because it's an 19 plus event. And I was like, but my baby's in a carrier and is only 5 months old. They're like, no baby's allowed. So I basically made like a competing event. It was like look and feel, but everyone had their babies in tow.
Amazing.
So that was like our, like where we came from. And then fast forward and COVID hit and sort of live events died entirely. And as a result, we had to pivot to like a very big online community. And that's where we have our Mom Halo membership, where moms were signing up for almost like a social club for moms to connect. And it wasn't about working out and it wasn't about being like schooled or educated. It was about women just like being themselves. And that's sort of been our brand. We really aim to give moms a great day every day. And that's where the community started.
I love that so much. I think you're so right that that lonely piece is so incredibly true. I always imagined motherhood to be like this time when I was surrounded by all of the people that I love. And then it turned out to be the loneliest I had ever felt in my life. And I was like, this is not what I thought it would be, not what I signed up for. What is happening? And are other people feeling like this? Like I started to go to coffee shops by myself and I'd just like look around like who's here? Who can I talk to? I was like bored and by myself. And then I realized there are other people who definitely feel like that. They just don't know where to go. It's like we're all lost little puppies who want connection.
That's it. And I think like, the community and my business model has like grown in ages and stages as I've grown as in motherhood and in womanhood. And, so the offer is not necessarily that anymore. We don't necessarily do those sorts of offers anymore. But it was incredible at that time when I was sort of birthing babies and businesses at the same time. It really felt to me like a hole in my own life and also a gap in the ecosystem because we grew to 25,000 members. We have a mailing list of over 10,000 people. And live events are like still an interesting thing post COVID. We're not really sure what lands. But we do know that we have a very strong community of people who like love our brand, look and feel, who like come to our events and buy from us and do and engage with us all the time. And in recent years, we had to pivot a bit because some of as a business owner, and maybe I don't know who your listeners are, if they're entrepreneurs or just moms, but either way, if you're somebody who can relate to this, like sometimes we create a business that serves a part of our life and then we like grow beyond that. And then we had to sort of change the business. So that's what I had to
Mhm.
do this year a bit. And we can talk about that a little bit more later.
Amazing. That's incredible. And I think you're right in saying that, these events happen and you had to bring your baby and like the baby's in a carrier. It wasn't like you felt open to that. I was the same. Like I wanted to do things. I'm not someone who likes to just sit at home. I like to go out and do things. But I so badly wanted to be a mom. And so it's crazy to me that our society really wants to promote motherhood, wants people to be moms, and then wants you to pretend like you're not a mom. It's like this huge, weird, like clashing of ideas where, like, yes, have kids, yes, do this, but like also don't forget to do things for yourself and don't forget to have a clean house and don't forget to be a good wife and don't forget to be a good friend. And there's all these unrealistic expectations of trying to pretend like you're not a mom and also to be a mom.
Yeah, it's a really messed up thing. I think like social media has done a world of good for the mommy ecosystem, even though some people might disagree with that. My bed is so messy, by the way, guys. This is like a real bed, kids'
Do not
pajamas,
worry.
like pineapple bed sheets.
It's just
Pineapple,
life. It's okay.
pineapples are right there. So that's the truth. Like Instagram and social media is like, I think like at one time when I was rising on social media, I was like such the alternative because I was this hot mess mom who, sort of kept it real and kept it funny and was like giving all those sorts of tidbits of like, and this is before reels were even a thing, sort of like sneak peeks into my life that things were hard and bad and not beautiful and perfect all the time. And I think like this sort of hot mess motherhood brand has like taken off where people are like find
Mhm.
it funny and engaging to be like, this is a bill of goods, right? You can't do it all. And even women who are showing up that way, like it doesn't seem super authentic. So I think the authenticity, honestly, like somebody like you and me, is that we do show up as we are. And sometimes it's glamorous and sometimes it's terrible. And it can be both.
Yeah.
And sometimes we can love it and sometimes we can hate it. But I think as they get older, you sort of love it, you just sort of grow into it a bit. And that was what I call the early days haze or the Mac truck of like getting hit in the face by motherhood. It's a hard reality for a lot of
It
folks.
totally is. And I think the reason that people relate so much to that kind of hot mess that you're talking about is because they feel it. Like it takes off that type of content because people want to be seen and they feel seen when they know that they're not the only people going through this. And so for me, sharing it is like almost healing to me because I realize, okay, it's true. I'm not the only one. Like my bed's a mess too. My stuff is everywhere also.
Yeah, I think there's something about content creation for women content creators, especially in the mommy ecosystem, is both like inspirational, aspirational, but also has to be authentic. And it's okay to like be like, this is like you're doing something inspiring. Like I have had a huge fitness journey the last few years, and people are
Yes.
like, I'm so inspired, so inspiring. I'm like, yeah, but like I'm also a fucking disaster too. Like, and we could be all those things, right? Um, and sometimes I feel like my hair is like turning gray and I didn't color it, or like, my Botox is worn off and I'm getting more of my lines. Like it's part and parcel for just trying to be, I think, as authentic in like an almost a very unauthentic medium because people don't want to see like the bad all the time. So I think there's a
Mhm.
science about it to be
Yeah.
engaging and inspirational and authentic. And I think the best creators like yourself are really good at doing all those things.
Thank you for saying that. I feel like I never really know exactly what I'm doing. Like I'm just really only sharing what we're doing. And sometimes it hits and sometimes it doesn't. But I just think it's a selfish thing for me. Like when people say like, "Oh, why are you sharing?" It really does help me um just to know that I'm not alone. So, it's
Yeah.
incredible how it can be helpful to others, but also it is good for me too.
Yeah, and I do think that there's something about your authenticity that makes you sing, right? You are showing up and you are doing it for yourself. And I think the best content creators are the ones who are sort of doing it like nobody's watching, right? It's not about the eyeballs or the metrics. It's just about like what you feel like your gut instinct is telling you to do. So good
Totally.
for you.
Oh, well, thank you. Um, Obviously, your community thrives on creating connections and meaning. I mean, that is the whole purpose of Mom Halo and how it started, like you shared. Can you share a moment with us where Mom Halo had a really profound or big impact on one of its members?
Ooh, that's a good question. Yeah, it was so funny. We have a membership community where people like pay to play to get closer to me, closer to one another. We launched it in 2019 and I launched it at Mom Fest and we didn't even know what it was going to be. We just were like, we're going to launch a membership. It was before people were doing, before Stu McLaren and Amy Porterfield and all these like masters of community and digital marketing. Um,
Mhm.
I started this membership and we launched it at the first Mom Fest that year in 2019, right before COVID, and we are like, oh yeah, for $100 a month you can be part of this club that's going to have events and have its own WhatsApp chat or whatever. And 100 women joined that day, and I was
Amazing.
like, what the fuck? Like, I hadn't even had the whole thing sorted out. And my entrepreneurship model is like I sort of sail the ship while I'm building the ship, and then I sort of face the sea, and whatever comes my way, I take it. Um, but yeah, I've always set sail on like whatever's in front of me. And that was the first time that I was like, people are really hungry for this. We had our first event actually at the Knicks storefront on Queen Street. We brought, I don't know, of the 100 members, I think 50 came with their babies. And
Amazing.
Joanna at the time had a Knicks photographer from New York who was like a maternity famous, like nude photographer. Oh, she probably shot you. You were in the book, right?
No.
Okay, so it was the woman who shot for the Knicks book, the OG coffee
Okay.
book. So she happened to be in Toronto, and she's like, "Oh, like we're launching our first like storefront. You have your community. Let's have our first event there." So I was like guinea pigging with her a bit, and we brought all the girls there, and they were like, "Oh, there's an opportunity to do this photo shoot with this incredible photographer." So people like dropped their drawers and like got naked in this first
Oh my
community
gosh.
event and took these like really intimate photos with their kiddos, like their little tiny babies. And we gave everyone a pair of Nick's underwear to leave with. And that like set us into this catapult of people just feeling like this is the most valuable membership. The most val- they didn't charge them for the event; they just paid for the membership, and they're like, "This is incredible." And fast forward now, it's 2014, so almost 5.5 years later, we just closed that membership. I had to close it for a variety of reasons. And I closed it and we just had up a little bit of a public, like sort of, closing. And women that were weeping, being like, they became
Oh.
members 5 years ago. They remained their membership for 5.5 years. So they don't have babies anymore. They just love the community. And this one woman came up to
Mhm.
me. She's like, thank you so much, with like tears in her eye, being like, you changed my course of motherhood for me. Like this would have been a very different reality if it wasn't for the halo. Um,
Wow.
so yeah, I feel like we did really good work and it felt like it was a really special, it held a really special place. I don't think I think there's other memberships in my future for
Mhm.
maybe a different subsect of types of people. But for right now, that had to close. And that's what I mean. Like as an entrepreneur, we had to make hard decisions. That was a very profitable part of my business. And it was something that was really rewarding to me many years ago. And I felt like I couldn't lead and inspire that community the way I once did because the community was changing and I was
Yeah.
changing.
Yeah.
Um, but having that sort of testimony, living like just happened literally in September, somebody coming to me and sort of espousing that message was like very heartwarming. So
Oh, that's so special. I think it's just so cool to have that impact on that many people and to watch something not only take off like that, but to maybe hear their stories and understand that it really did impact their motherhood journey because it can look different for so many different factors, but community I think is the huge big piece of that.
yeah. Yeah. And anyone who's in the community building space or membership space, if you're like a mom trying to find your way in the world, like I say, become a joiner, like join whatever it calls to you, right?
Yeah.
Um, and I think if you're in a situation where you've either paid money or showed up with your feet like you voted with your feet, you showed up somewhere, like, try to be invested in that experience because you never know what's going to come back your way.
I love that so much. Now, being an entrepreneur, like you're talking about having different types of businesses, different models of business, having things evolve, also being a mom of three. Also, you said you're on this fitness journey. Like you have a lot of things going on, like a lot of other moms out there or people out there. What advice would you give specifically to new moms? I think since you really started with this Mom Halo community who are feeling really overwhelmed with trying to figure it all out, motherhood, work, personal well-being, relationships. If you had someone in your Mom Halo community come up to you as a new mother and say like, what the heck do I do?
Yeah.
What advice would you give them?
Yeah, I think the thing that I love, Beyonce Knowles, who to me is like the queen bee of all mothers, and the
She
queen,
is the queen bee. Yeah.
the queen really. Beyonce said when she became a mom, she said, I met myself for the first time in motherhood. So I
Oh.
encourage you to re-meet yourself. Like you are always going to be, you're not going to be that 20-year-old kid anymore. Like you are whoever you are now, this person. Give
Mm,
yourself some grace and time to re-know yourself, right? Your priorities are going to shift. The things that are interest you or excite you are going to shift. But it's really about being extraordinarily in touch with your inside self to be like, what makes Alana tick? What do I want? And like once you get those things sorted, it can be a little bit of an identity crisis or shift when you're like,
mhm,
who am I? What do I want? And it's okay to ask yourself those questions and not know the answer right away because you
mhm,
just fucking rebirthed yourself. You birthed the kid, and now you are now a different person than you were before then. And it's for me what Mom Halo was always about was straddling these two identities of like who I was and who I was becoming. Um,
mm.
and I encourage you to not judge yourself so hard. Like have the thought come in, see it like a cloud, and just like let it leave. It doesn't need to be a storm all the time. So, oh, I just found my freaking mic. I was looking for my mic for this podcast. I'm looking for I just like, oh, there's my podcast mic. Okay, here it is.
Perfect.
See you later.
Amazing.
Um,
Um,
that's it.
I love that. I love that so much because I love that you touch on the identity crisis piece because I thought something was wrong with me. I was having this time where I had taken a bit of time off with the twins. I was thinking like, what do I do? And then I felt like I didn't know who I was anymore. I had poured myself into I was just an anxious mess, if I'm being honest. Like I was like, okay, all I'm going to focus on is being a mom. But then I just took that the wrong way and really was just stressed about everything, worried about everything. I think because the kids were preemies and we were in hospital for a long time, there were other outside factors too. Um, but I remember having a meltdown to my husband and being like, I don't know who I am. And it really was clear to me in that moment that it was an identity crisis, that I had achieved this motherhood role that I had always wanted. And then I was lost in that and I didn't know what it was. So I had lost my idea of motherhood. And then I also had lost myself before being a mom. And I didn't have time to grieve who I was before then. And it was just this wild, wild experience of exactly what you said, an identity crisis. Um,
And I think the other thing is people sell motherhood like a bag of goods. They're like, oh, it's so
literally.
beautiful, it's so wonderful. And all you see is like bump photos or people's strollers or beautiful anniversaries. Like, that doesn't matter at all. And it's sort of like once you have the baby, people are like, ha ha, welcome to the club. You were fooled, right? It's
Yeah,
shitty, it's bad. And I think that's part of the challenge and why these conversations that you're hosting, like even today on this podcast, are so powerful because it doesn't matter who the listener is if you're postpartum 1 minute or postpartum 15 years, like, it's shedding light on things that are just now being talked about more. I think almost
mhm,
like there's a new in vogue to talk about this stuff when it was never spoken about before. So,
yeah,
there's definitely it's definitely a hard one. It's a hard pill to fill. And like anyone else who's like on the road to motherhood, like it gets better.
it
You'll
does.
rediscover yourself. You'll figure yourself out. Do the therapies. Do the trips. You know, and I mean all therapies for you if it makes you feel good to go dance hard at a I don't know daytime nightclub. I don't know. Find something that fills your cup. And a lot of women reinvent themselves, and that's why you see so many women starting businesses and like leaving their traditional jobs once they've had kiddos because they are looking to reinvent how they spend their time.
Totally, for sure. And I think that's the whole kind of reason that I started this podcast was it's called Your Cup of Joy because I really wanted to talk about self-care, especially in motherhood, and really taking away the idea. I think society does this thing of saying to you when you become a mom, like
Yeah.
the really great thing to do in motherhood is to dedicate your whole life to your kids. Like forget yourself, your needs don't matter anymore. Like the respectable mom is only focused on her kids. And I think that that's a load of shit because I think we really have to focus on ourselves too, because we can only be the best moms when our cup is also full. And so I think for a lot of people, including myself, self care isn't the traditional way of thinking of self care. Like if we think of a movie, it's like a spa day or putting cucumbers on your eyes and, being by yourself. And I hate being by myself. I love surrounding myself with people. And so I think I want to shed light on the fact that community is self-care. Spending time with people you love is self-care. It can be spending time with your kids. Like we sometimes think it has to be like time away from the kids, but I've realized that that's not always what I want either. So I just think yeah, self-care can be hobbies, and you can really find yourself and reinvent yourself by finding new hobbies. It doesn't have to be things that were, pre-kid or post-kid. So all of that to say, what is your favorite way to practice self-care?
Yeah, it's a good question. For me, self care, I'll reframe it as lifestyle. Um,
Huh.
for me, and that's why I have this new offer in my business called my Lifestyle Up program, the Kayfetz Method, which I'm happy to discuss. But basically,
Yeah.
for me, it's not necessarily self care; it's a lifestyle. Like, it's not about living for your vacations and your weekends. It's when you wake up
Mm.
every day to the time you go to bed. How are you spending your time? What is filling your 9 to 5? Like, you have 24 hours in a day. What does it look like for you? And can you architect and scaffold a life for yourself in which you are building those self-care moments in all the time, and it doesn't have to be this like
Mm.
huge ominous thing. For me, it was always like a spa day. It was getting my nails done. It was getting my hair done. Like I had to like physically remove myself and detach myself from my daily life in order to feel like I was doing self-care. That's not really sustainable for the long term. I have to be able to find the moments every single day that allow me to feel like I'm taking care of myself. And to me, I call that a lifestyle first model. And can you
Love.
build your whole life around your lifestyle, and for your
Mm.
lifestyle to be whatever is your priority? For you, it's, filling yourself with community or your kids or whatever, having a busy house or having hobbies. Somebody else might say like, my lifestyle for me is that I only want to work 3 days a week. I want to make sure
Mhm.
that I'm never working in December, July, or August because I want to build my whole life around being completely available to my children, but in a way that like I'm not dividing my attention. So this also came from me dividing my attention and feeling like I'm never available to my kids because I'm on my phone or working all
Mhm.
the time. And it wasn't until my kiddo, when he was like 6 or 7, said to me like, "Mom, can you put down your phone and play with me?" And I was like, "Ooh, what have
Oh.
I become?" And I wasn't picking up a book to read for leisure, and I wasn't necessarily going out for dinner with friends. I was like getting so caught up, and I'm like, what kind of
Mm.
life is this? Like, even if I'm making a high, 6 figures and breaking the bank, and the in our line of work, like the top of the income threshold is limitless, but uh what does it matter if I can't actually enjoy my life? So for me, it
Mm.
was a huge aha moment and having to undo some very toxic mindsets around what success looked like. And for me, success is a lifestyle first method in which self care becomes part of my daily grind.
I love that so, so much because I feel like I've been hearing lately this term that I don't know why I just really don't like it. This momcation, like you need time away from your kids. You need, and only for moms. Like it's this weird thing that I don't like because for me, I kept having like my mom and my husband say to me, like, oh, maybe you just need some time away. Maybe you should just like take some time for yourself. And I kept being like, stop. The time that I want is with my children. Like that's not a blessing to me to be away from the people that I love. Like, and it's just, I think sometimes we're told what we're supposed to want, and we have to really change that and know what actually makes our heart happy and fills our cup.
And I have to say, I'm a little bit older than you. I will say this. I found when I turned 40, I just turned 40 last year, was like the first 6 months of turning 40 was like pretty hard. But the second 6 months of turning 40, I was like, oh, this is who I am. Like I'm a
Oh.
full-fledged adult person and I'm a woman who like really knows myself and knows what I want. But like I think we have to give ourselves the grace that like we have a lot of life left for us. We've accomplished incredible things. Like there's never been more high achieving women who like get master's degrees, raises children, like kill it in their career, like do all these things. And like, then
Mhm.
what? Right. And for what? So I think like giving ourselves some grace to be like 40, everyone's like, oh, you're fabulous in 40. I'm telling you, the first 6 months of 40 was like a hard one. The second 6 months, and this is like, I'm an N of one of my own research, but from my friendship group of everyone who was born in 83 like me, like it was for sure this. First 6 months were hard. Second 6 months were like you relax into it a bit and you're like, oh yeah, like I'm good. I'm a whole person. So I think also for me, like what for you, it's like, I don't want a vacation with my, like, whatever you works for you, you'll figure it out by the time you're 40. And then you have a lot of young women listeners too, but like, you'll be okay. Like, just
Yeah.
chill a bit and don't take yourself so fucking seriously, man. Like,
Yes.
it's all good.
Agreed. And I also realized that like it can change. Like I can want to go on a vacation one day and then the next week I can want to have dinner with my friend. Like you can just continue to do things that make you feel good and they don't have to be similar or the same in any regard.
Women change their minds all the time. Like, it's
I
okay.
do.
Like I and my daughter, who my one daughter, I have two sons, and my daughter's like, "Mommy, I changed my mind." I'm like, she's always changing her mind. I'm like, and that's okay. Like we don't need to be so shackled to the plan that we're writing out this exact minute that who I was in 23 is who I'm going to be 2024. Like give
Yeah.
yourself some breath to be a human and like feel, you know?
Yeah. I
So
love that. I
thank
love
you.
that so much. So you're a mom to three. You said two boys and a girl.
I'm pregnant with my fourth. That's the other thing.
I was hoping you were going to tell us.
Give me
I
3 weeks and we can go live with it. I'm pregnant with my fourth, which
oh,
is my big dirty secret. Yeah.
oh my gosh, I'm so happy that you shared your secret with me because I've just been thinking about you so much. I'm so excited for you.
Yeah. I ran
It's
into
just incredible.
you at an event recently where I was bumping out hard and you're like, what? And it's a shocking going from 3 to 4 is a shocker, but it's always been my dream for a long time. And we didn't think it
Oh,
would be possible, but here we are.
I love that so much. Can you share with us a little bit about your kids? About
Yeah.
yeah.
I have 3 kids. Elias is just 8, so he's a 2016 baby. I have a daughter, Essa, who's a 2018er. I have a son, Henry, who's a 2020 baby, so a COVID kid. And Henry has
Ooh.
an ultra rare genetic disorder, which has landed us into this sort of other hat I wear, which is sort of this medicalized mom who's had this like big journey at Sick Kids with lots of fundraising for them. And it's, I straddled these two worlds of like totally normal kiddos and this kiddo who is like super sick, very complex with who's neurodiverse. So I'm a mom to all these people. And why I always wanted 4 kids, but didn't think we could have this child is because Henry was so complicated. But honestly, I turned 40. I went through all this growth in this past year. And one of the things I realized is like, I just wasn't done. So my husband and I went for it and we got pregnant right away. And I'm now halfway through this pregnancy already. So
It's
um,
meant to be.
meant to be in 2025 will be bananas, but here we go again.
Maybe
Last
this will be like the reinvention of Mom Halo and Mom Fest because you'll be back in the baby stage.
maybe that's what I'm saying, right? Like we'll see. I'll be back into the baby days, and I might realize there's like my gut intuition dictates every business decision I make. So I might be feeling
Amazing.
something new in my gut. They'll be like, oh, this is like actually my new calling. So I believe the universe unfolds exactly as it should, and it will reveal to me if there's something else I need to create.
I do too. I think that's amazing. So amazing. Thank you for sharing all that with us too. Can you maybe share a little bit about what being a mom of a medically complex child is like, and maybe a little bit about his diagnosis for people who maybe also have a child with a medical complexity or know somebody?
Yeah, sure. So Henry has an ultra rare genetic disorder. It was completely undetected in utero, and one of the reasons I'm keeping this pregnancy a little bit more under wraps and private was because we've been waiting for genetic results from an
Mm.
amniocentesis I had to do, which was very shitty. If anyone's ever had to do it, it's very bad. I
Oh,
tell you, it's like a tickle. It's not. It's like being stabbed with a knife.
oh my
So
gosh.
very scary, but you have to do it if you have to do it. And my son Henry was just born during COVID. It was like fast and furious. People were all masked up. It was like one of the heights of COVID, July 2020, and I had all my kiddos at home with a midwife. So not to say that that was a why this happened, but like everything was just missed with Henry until he turned 4 months old, where we went
Wow.
for his checkup and they found he had a really loud heart murmur. He also like looking back, he didn't look like my other children at all. He had some other like weird things, but he like looked like a normal baby. He just there was something underlying that I just didn't know what it was. I never had any suspicion that anything was super wrong because he was just a little guy and we were just trying to survive with 3 kiddos. Um,
Yeah.
and lo and behold, he had this like crazy heart condition, which required immediate heart surgery. So from the time we got that like murmur, oh, there's a murmur, to like him having open heart surgery was like just a few weeks.
Oh
Um,
my gosh.
so he had 2 heart surgeries within 21 days, one through the back, which is called a thoracotomy, and then an open heart surgery, which did a massive repair. And it landed us in Sick Kids for a better part of 4 months from 2020 to 2021. I was
Wow.
living there and it was the height of COVID. So my husband was home here with my 2 little toddlers and I was living at Sick Kids with our baby. So we were a divided family and also navigating this sort of post-op. He had lots of complexities after the surgery. Um, and we didn't even know he had a rare genetic disorder until many months later. Um,
Wow.
and it was just a really, really banana story. So if you're a complex mom, if you're a mom who has a complex kid, you've had medical issues, you've had infant loss, child loss, all those things, like I wear those sort of I feel you. I see you. I've been in the NICU with those moms and, walked the hollow halls of sick kids where parents are going from crying to laughing. It's a really, really hard journey. And you're not alone. It's really fucking hard. And I remember I actually ran into a woman who, sick kids has their floors and parents like wear a badge with their floor on it. So you know who's who, but you don't
Yeah.
know because it's like internal language. So the fourth floor is the cardiac floor. And I was there with Henry for like a regular checkup recently. And there was a mom there who had a fourth floor. I was like, "Oh, hey, you're a heart baby." She's like, "Yeah," and I was like, "Oh," and she's telling me the story about her kiddo, and I was like, "It's going to be okay." I'm like, "There's no underlying like genetic disorder, right? It's just like a heart repair." She's like, "Yeah." I'm like, "The surgery and a heart repair, you'll be fine. Just look at me." I'm like, "Look at me, you'll be fine." This was like in the library at Sick Kids. I'm like, "Where are
Oh,
you from?" She's like, "I'm from Sault Ste. Marie. I'm from like Edmonton or something." I'm like, "Here's my phone number. If you need me, just text me."
wow.
Forgot about this woman entirely. 4 months later, I get a text message being like, "Hey, I'm so and so. I met you in the library at Sick Kids. You said to me everything was going to be okay. I just want to let you know you're the only person who said that to me. I was feeling so hopeless, and everything's okay." And
Oh,
that interaction that gave me strength to get through many months. So I kind of see myself as this like back pocket advocate for people who are going through tough, tough times, genetic disorders, and people who have real complexities. Like I'm in awe of other parents who are going through kids with cerebral palsy or other things that are like, kids who are like severely disabled or kids whose like life expectancies are not very long. And I look at them in like awe the way people look at me. And I'm just like living my life. I'm just like trying to make the best of every fucking day and give my son the best life possible and for our family to have the best time possible for the days that we have him. So we don't know Henry's life expectancy. There's only 200 people in the world with his condition. Some die in
wow.
pediatrics, some live till a very old age. Some people have kids, some people don't. The spectrum is very wide, but he's very cute. He's very naughty as a 4-year-old. And part of his condition is he's ultra small. So he's like a miniature guy. He's 4 and he weighs 22 pounds and he wears 18-month-old clothing. So you see this like from the back, he looks like a little toddler, and you turn around, you see a really mature face. It's not like dwarfism. He doesn't look like just a small person. He just looks like a walking, talking baby. It's like a weird thing. But
Oh.
anyways, that's Henry's condition. And if you're a medicalized mommy, or if you're not sure if you're going through that things, please feel free to slip into my DMs. I'm happy to talk to you.
Oh, thank you for being such a support and an advocate for people who are in any type of situation like that. And thank you for sharing your story and your situation with us. I know you share some stuff of Henry online, and he is so sweet and so cute. So thank you for sharing that.
Thanks.
Um, and I just think it's important. Like I've had a couple of situations like that where just from sharing our NICU journey online, I connected with other people who just needed that a little bit of reassurance to know that like no matter what happens, like they're not alone. There is somebody who has been through this and who's able to walk beside them or be a support to them. And the fact that you can do that is just so incredible. So thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course. And so you spent a lot of time at Sick Kids. And I know, like, I can't even imagine how 4.5 months, like we had a month in hospital between two, and I still like driving past the hospital sometimes hold my breath. It's just it impacts your life in every avenue. And so that moment was really incredible. But I believe in kindness. I believe that you remember kindness. There are a few moments that I will never ever forget from in the hospital with the twins. And it was always through kindness of somebody, whether it was like we had a moment with the janitor because I was there all the time. I just connected with these people, and it is this connection and kindness. And these are people and stories and moments that I will never ever forget. And one of the moments for me was a sign above each bassinet. Like I came in one day and there was just a sign with their names. And for me, I don't know, but just seeing their names made them seem more like real human beings and not just these little fragile things that I wasn't allowed to touch. And it just is something I will never, ever forget. So I know you shared that moment with that woman at Sick Kids. Is there another most memorable moment, maybe
Oh
with your child at Sick Kids, that you can share
my
with
gosh.
us?
Yeah, there's so many. Oh God, there's so many. So when I was at Sick Kids, I like needed to busy myself a bit with
Mhm.
something. I was feeling like I wasn't on a mat leave. I wasn't really working. I was sort of sitting bedside. And I remember one night I was like, oh, the nurses, I became like really good friends with the nurses. They were all young nurses. I'm there, they're on shift work. I like got to know like the 25 30 nurses on a regular basis, but the sick kids cardio world had like 100 nurses.
Wow.
And I was there so much, and I didn't have a shift, right? I wasn't going like 12 hours a day, 4 days a week. I was there 7 days a week, 24/7. So I was getting to know all these nurses. And I remember one day I was like on Instagram being like, hey, does anyone want to help me buy McFlurries? It was like McFlurry Day or something. I was like, do you want me to buy McFlurries for the nurses? So I was like, send me a DM and I'll send you like, and all of a sudden I had like $1,500 in McFlurry money. So I bought like
McFlurry
every
money.
every nurse and everyone who was on that night. I bought every single person a McFlurry. And then McDonald's reached out being like, hey, we saw what you were doing. Why don't you donate that money back to sick kids and we'll take care of the McFlurries? And I was like,
Oh,
okay. And that started for me this like like I want to call them like grand like acts of generosity. And then from there, like the next day, a restaurant was like, hey, can I send dinner to the nurses? And it was like also
oh,
the frontline workers were getting like so much respect. And like everyone had their hearts in front of their houses for like, people who are doing what's essential work. And before I knew it, like the almost every single day that I was there for many months into the new year, like somebody was doing a real estate agent would show up with like gift cards, or like a restaurant was sending
oh,
lunch for the nurses, and people were like sending like Nick's was sending like baskets of underwear or gift card. Like it was, the generosity was crazy that I needed to like hone it in a bit. So we started something called Project Mom Halo, which was people starting like nano fundraisers where we then pooled the money and donated it to sick kids. And it got crazy. Like Women's Network did a commercial on us. We were doing like
wow.
we raised like, I don't know, $250,000 in like 18 months. It was crazy, to the
Amazing.
point where we have a plaque on the wall. And somebody from Sick Kids has said, I've never seen a jump so fast from ideation to wall like in my life. So it was just this community effort. But I will say one of the most generous things I've ever had done was at Sick Kids, was the first time somebody like sent me a gift card to Starbucks, like a small, just like, hey, here's 20 bucks, like make sure you get yourself a coffee. And I was like,
Yeah.
oh, that was cool. And before I knew it, I was like, I was sending people, like anyone I know it
Yeah.
now, because I'm like, here's 20 bucks, like make sure you get yourself a Starbucks. So it's like,
Yeah.
I'm talking about like gigantic acts of kindness, but like also those really like small acts of kindness. And when you're like seeing these things, this is a pediatric hospital, it's about the kids, but the caregivers are often like, not say overlooked, but we're not part of the story. And
Mhm.
that for me was always about putting moms and caregivers at the front of those stories.
Oh, that's so impactful. I love that so much. There were a few times that we had similar things like that happen, both for the nurses, because again, it was that time during COVID when people wanted to support essential workers, even more so. And then also for ourselves too. And it was just, those things are truly things that you will remember forever. So I think the message for listeners too is if you know somebody going through something and you don't know what to do, just do something. Doesn't matter what it is. Send the message. If it's just a message, just send it. Send the Starbucks cards. Send the Uber. We got so many Uber Eats cards because all restaurants were closed during COVID. We were in the hospital and everything was closed. We had eaten every single Tim Hortons donut there was to be given at that cafe because it was the only thing there. And those are things that we'll remember. So, yeah, if you know someone who's going through anything, just and you think you want to do something but you don't know what to do, just do something. They'll remember it forever.
That's it. That's it. Just like if you just, use your gut intuition and do what you think is the right thing to do. I love that.
Yeah, yeah. So I want to talk a bit about philanthropy because philanthropy obviously is big to you. Giving back is something that is so close to my heart, and I just love that it's close to your heart too. I think leaving the world a better place than you found it is important. Paying it forward, passing along kindness. What goes around comes around. Like there are so many ways for people to say that, and to live that out. And you have had a huge impact. Like you briefly said it, but can we for a moment say like $250,000 in 2 years? That is absolutely incredible and so impactful. And I also read when I was doing a little bit of research about you that you have a goal to raise 1 million.
Yeah, it was 1 million. We wanted to do 250 a year over 4 years. And I think the goal has slowed down a bit because just the momentum has changed. And I think for me, like,
Totally.
I also have come to learn of other incredible charitable organizations that could use the resources. Sick Kids is
Mhm.
like, it's incredible. And don't get me wrong, it's a very sexy cause, like a pediatric hospital. Like, like, who doesn't want to fundraise for that? So I think
Yeah.
like there's other causes, like Henry has been a recipient of incredible support from this organization called High Lifeline. There's another one, the Myri Foundation itself, that's doing incredible genetic research. So yes,
Mm.
the goal was a million. I still have my eye on that prize. It might take closer to like 10 years to get there.
That's
Um,
okay.
we're still making small donations all the time, but yeah, it was always a very, very, I want to say, I'm always like about the bigger picture. And for me, it was like, yes, let's get to $1 million. And I felt like it's something we still can do.
Of
So we're still
course.
way towards that goal.
Amazing. And what made it be a million? Like for you, what really sparked that to say like, okay, we're going to set this goal and we're going to achieve it?
Yeah, at the time, I think the idea was in the new hospital was to create a space for caregivers to have some respite when they're there, and that was the cost of doing like paying
Mm,
for and building out and sponsoring a lounge. Basically, that was for parents. If you're at Sick Kids, like there's the Ronald McDonald Lounge, which is great if you like, but there's like lots of rules about who can go there and how you can use it.
yeah.
And there's other spaces that are dedicated to children, but there wasn't
Mhm.
like an actual space dedicated just to caregivers who are like living and breathing there. So this was just that was the idea, a place where you can just unplug and connect with yourself and not necessarily be like in the like the howl halls of hospital, but like something that was like a little bit more calming or inspiring. So
I love that.
that was the idea.
Amazing. Well, I know that you will achieve it. I know you will get there. And I can't wait to hear the new fundraisers coming down the pipeline. You're
All
doing
great. And
amazing.
any of your listeners who want to like do a give back or they're thinking about it, we actually work with an incredible organization called Echo Age. And let's
Mm,
say you're throwing a birthday party for your kiddo and you don't want them to have a million pieces of plastic in their house. You can like basically pool all the monies and proceeds from the birthday party and donate it to Project Halo and then like buy your kid like
oh,
one big present. So maybe it's like a Nintendo
love
Switch or like for Christmas instead of saying, buying, getting a million pieces of plastic you're going to throw out, you're going to be like, hey, we're all going to pool for a new bike or we're all going to pool for a new TV. And then
mm.
we'll split the gift with the charity. This is an incredible option for that. So there's like little ways you can contribute if you're interested, or you can go heck check out Mom Halo, Project Halo online for more ways to give.
I love that so, so much. One of the things that I love about philanthropy and giving back and fundraising is that usually you get more than you give. And what I mean by that is that the lessons that you've learned, the people you've met, it really truly has impacted me so greatly. And I think that it becomes contagious. Like that's why I want to continue to give and continue to volunteer and to continue to do those things. Can you share with us maybe one of the greatest lessons that you've learned through this fundraising journey?
Yeah, I think like you don't really understand the effects that your dollars have until like you've done it. And I think also like the thing that I would like encourage people to understand is like there's no like gift that's too small. Uh,
Mm,
so, it doesn't matter if you're giving $5 or $5,000, like, you know, it really does do that. And one of the things I'd like people to understand is like philanthropy is also something we teach our kids. So if it's not part of your daily practice to talk about charity or to not say daily, but like it's part of the ethos of your family, I want you to think about like those times, like maybe during Christmas or whatever, like there's an opportunity for us to talk about a charitable give back, or maybe, you can do something like a lemonade stand, or you can do something like a bake sale and like tell your kids, like, you can have some of this money, but we're going to give 10% of everything we do. And as a
mhm.
family, maybe it's, if you don't do this already, not only is it like good to get a tax receipt, of course, but maybe there's some perk for you to be explain to like your kids as they get older for them to understand, like, we always make a donation every year and we take 10% of our family income and we try to give back to causes that matter to us. So, I think to me that is the biggest piece is like you might have like a naturally generous person or somebody who's maybe not naturally that generous, and for them to take pause and be like, oh, I can make an impact on the world. So,
Mhm.
yeah. Does that answer your question? I think that was the question.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think that's amazing, and it's true, like, it there's no amount too little, because often too, the thought, the conversations, they all spark more and more and more, and so sometimes when we think, "Oh, I don't know if I'll be able to raise that much, like, is it worth it?" Or something like that, like, it is worth it, no matter how much it is, um and teaching your kids is something I love. Like that's what sparked it for me. Like I grew up like going to soup kitchens at Christmas time and meeting people. Like it was again community and connection. It all comes back to like those conversations and those experiences that I was able to have. Getting my hands dirty, I think really just sparked for me like a life value of just wanting to continue that, and teaching your kids that is just such a blessing, I think.
So a tool I'll offer is I do this every winter, like when it starts getting cold. We do car kits for my family. So we'll go to Dollarama or
Oh,
Dollar Tree, or we'll look around our house for like, freshly unopened things. And I'll make about 10 car bags. We'll put $5 in, we'll put socks, we'll put, gum, we'll put a toothbrush, we'll put a hair comb, we'll put gum, a chocolate bar, a protein bar, whatever. And I'll keep them in the car. And anytime we see somebody who is unhoused, like my kids will be like, Mom, can we give it? So I always have in the car so we can give something out. And I'll
oh,
always say to whoever I talk to, man, woman, doesn't matter. I'm like, there's $5 in here. So, take care of it or whatever. So I'm like already collecting my fives ready to go. So we can
I
start
love
doing
that.
these things in the coming months. And I think it's about role modeling those things. And there is something about getting your hands dirty that is kind of like a sexy thing that's tactile that kids can and adults can understand. But there's other ways you can give it, like even if it's your time, there's lots of
Mhm.
organizations where the seniors need meals or Wehrhaft is a great one where you like actually get into a car and you're like working at night helping people receive things that they might need. So it doesn't always have to be like a monetary amount. I just think like
Yeah.
building an ethos for yourself and your family around giving, even of your time or money, is like a great thing to um, create as part of your family values.
I couldn't agree more, and I love when you can add a bit of creativity and fun to it too. When we were, pregnant with the twins, again, it was pandemic, so you couldn't really connect, and I was just really wanting that connection to people, and so we ended up doing people kept saying like, "Oh, do you think it's a boy or a girl? What are you gonna name the baby? Oh, how big do you think your tummy is?" Like, all these funny questions, and I was like, I think we could give back from this. And there's a local organization we like to support. And because I was pregnant during the pandemic and I knew there were other people going through pregnancies, um, that needed the support, we supported our women's shelter here by creating like a guessing game. So we had like a Google form and you could guess like boys or girls, when am I going to give birth? What's the circumference of my tummy? And then there was a prize for the winner. And to guess, you would donate a certain amount. And even though it wasn't like this huge scale fundraiser, it was fun and it got people excited about, giving and excited about the pregnancy. So it was like a win-win and it was so much fun. But you can really think outside of the box.
Yeah, 100%. So, and if you are looking for resources, if Sick Kids calls to you, or if there's any local charity wherever you're listening, there's resources available for you to like do
Mhm.
things at home that could help um, teach that stuff. And I think charity specifically comes from the home. Like you can't outsource it to school. It's something that
Yeah,
you're going to have to do in your family for it to be
agreed.
meaningful and relevant. Yeah.
Totally. Okay. So I want to pivot a little bit and talk a bit about your business and how you have pivoted to meet your lifestyle and reinvention of yourself and your brand, I think, because you've had a transition in your business lately. So share a little bit more. You shared a bit about Lifestyle Up and the Kayfetz Method.
Yeah. So one of the things that I've sort of come to fruition for me in the last few years is that I'm somebody who has been a very good student of programs and coaches and etc. And some of them were amazing and some of them were not so amazing.
Mm,
Um, but what I've come to learn was that I felt like there was a values flip flop where people were sort of hustling all the time. And it was like hustle harder, grind more, da da da. And I was like, that doesn't jive with me or my lifestyle. And I was like, how can I put myself first? And I went to Costa Rica in May of last year, sort of in like that, just before I turned 41. And I was like, oh, I'm like really looking for more of my own cup filling moments. And my cup of joy was this moment where I got to go away into this like very therapeutic experience where I realized like my calling was to do this work, which was to take all of the pieces of what I've learned to do and sort of in the lifestyle that I was building for myself and sort of codify it into this method, which I spent 5 months doing. And I just launched this past September. And I have my first cohort and it's going really well. And it's for me, it
amazing.
was about being in person with people. I didn't want to offer like a virtual program. And I'm not a coach. I'm like the anti-coach. But it is an anti-hustle coaching. It's anti-hustle, anti-coaching program where I'm trying to help people scaffold an incredible lifestyle for themselves that is about profit, but is about them as a person. Like what do you value? What do you want for yourself? And it's been an incredible journey. I'm working with 6 women right now for the first cohort, and we're just going through the first time I've ever run this in a beta. So I'll be running it again in January of
Nice.
2025. I'll run it January, February, and then March. I will not to be able to run it anymore because I will be taking some time for the new baby.
So
It
exciting.
is a 12-week program. It is in Toronto. It is in person. There will only be 6 people when I do it again. And it's been incredibly rewarding so far. And the thing that I love about this business model that I've been able to do is like, I was serving 1 million people, 25,000 people on Instagram, 230 members in the Halo. And I feel like I really couldn't show up for one person in a way that really made sense. But if I have a
Mm.
really small group of women who are coming to me that I actually think I can help them with both personal, lifestyle, and business, this to me was like the crown jewel. I was like, and it's been incredible because I feel like I'm like a shareholder in these women's I feel like I'm their co-founder, but I'm not
Oh,
taking a dollar and I don't want anything but for them to succeed. And I realized all these years, one of the best parts of my business is like I love helping other women make money by like giving them my platform or buying their products or supporting buying local or supporting them or helping, I don't know, promote diverse voices, right? Like that's always been a part of my message. And this is the first time where I'm like, was able to really take all of those teachings over the last multiple years. And anybody who's in community building, brand building, identity building, events, mom communities, like that's the stuff that so those are all the women who've come to me or people who come from those worlds who want to be able to do more. And I can like show you how to do it in 3 months as opposed to you having to do what I did,
amazing.
which is to take 8 years to figure out how to do this. So that's the Kayfetz method. I'm really excited about it. We're just like into a few weeks of this class of this group, and I'm learning a lot about myself, about the program, and these women are incredible, and each one of them have a unique business, and I can't wait to help them catapult their businesses any way I can. So
That's
that's
incredible.
you can check it out. It's alanakayfetz.com if you want to put in the show notes.
Yes, of course.
And there's more information there. So thank you for that, Ariana. I appreciate it.
Oh, of course. I just think it's amazing because we do really have this like work harder, hustle, like you should be grinding at 11 p.m. Make sure you're on like I find myself literally any moment that I have still, I'm like, "Oh my gosh, I should be doing something." Like it's like ingrained in me. So this anti-hustle mindset is very interesting to me because I think it's similar to this message of fill your cup first and you'll show up as a better mom or as a better friend or as a better career person. Like really, if you do take time for yourself, you can be so much more productive in less time.
That's it. I found for myself, I was going to conferences or like events when I just saw you recently at the Cheekbone
Mhm.
Beauty. Like I was going places and being my best version of myself. And then I was coming home for my children, my husband, like a sack of shit. Like I couldn't have a conversation. I didn't want to engage with them because I had
Yeah.
given so much of myself to everybody else. And I had
Yeah.
to be like, who am I giving myself to? Like strangers
Mhm.
on Instagram and to like, peers at an event, which fills my cup, but I have to have some reserve, right?
Yeah.
Where is the reserve? And I'm saying this as like, 20 weeks pregnant. Like, where is
Yeah.
the reserve, right? I'm like building a human. I'm trying to keep my integrity of my business, and I'm also trying to
Mhm.
keep like a wonderful household with 3 little kiddos, one who's medically fragile, and a husband who's like a toddler sometimes who needs me too, right? So
Yeah.
there's a lot of people who count on me. I have aging parents. I have 3 adult siblings who like I love deeply and I want to be able to be available for them as well. So I think for
Mhm.
me, as I've gotten older, like my priorities have just shifted. In this pregnancy, like my ability to do and rush and hustle and do, like I just can't. So it's
Mhm.
interesting. It's like the fabric of what I can do and what I want to do is all sort of coming to its head, and it's a really nice
Mhm.
moment for me. And I'm feeling like I'm in a really good flow. And when I'm flowing, things are flowing. Like I'm not actually
Yeah.
trying that hard because things are just coming to me. And it's because I think I've made
Amazing.
decisions, but it took a lot of bad decisions to get here, and that's okay.
Yeah, that's okay. And now you're sharing that wisdom with other people. So it's incredible. Can you maybe share one or two practical tips for embracing this slower, more intentional lifestyle for people like me who are not slow or that intentional in my lifestyle?
Yeah, yeah. I think for me to slow down and to be intentional is like, I call it the rule of threes. Like,
Mm,
can you find 3 things that are just for Ariana? Like, what are the 3 things you love to do for you? I'm just asking you.
that's a very good question. I love time with my kids that is not for something, like just chill. I love to spend time with my family.
Hmm.
Like not just my kids, like my extended family. And I really love to play soccer. I joined a new soccer league.
So that's it. So for me, like that's the like three rocks. They're like just for Ariana, for nobody
Mm,
else. They serve nobody else's cup but yours. And like, how
mm,
can you take those three rocks with you in your daily life to make sure that you are finding time for soccer and for your kiddos that like is unstructured or family
mhm,
dinners or whatever. So to
mm,
me, that's like a guiding principle is like, how can we create those moments and remember those things, right? So I would say now take those three rocks, Ariana, write it on a post-it note. And I want you to
mhm.
put it next to your laptop or your computer where you're going to see it every day and be like, oh yeah, my three rocks. I got to get back to that. Um,
Okay.
I love that. And then the other thing I would say is your seven closest friends or your seven people, whether or not it's your mom, your sister, your best friend, like write the seven names and also put them on a post-it next to your computer.
Mm.
It's like, even if it's a friend that like maybe isn't that close, but you want to get closer to, like me, you can call me. I can be one of your seven.
Okay.
And just like it's 7 days a week, like check on those people once a week and be like, oh, this person fills my cup. This person brings me joy. Um, yeah, so little tools like that, just like post-it notes. Like if you have a hard time saying no, write the word no and put it somewhere. So if you want to say no, you can just read it. You're not saying it. You're saying no and no,
Yeah.
read it. So there's all these little like tactical things that are in the method that I've learned and picked up over the course of my lifetime. So I'm happy to share them more. But those are the things. If you have a hard time, like some people need a visual cue, just put them right in front of you.
I absolutely love that. And I'm going to do all three of those things because I that's a good for all the listeners, like do that. I think even just that exercise of you asking me like what are three things that you do for you or that you like to do, like that made me uncomfortable for a minute. Like I was like, hold on, what do I like? Who
Yeah.
am I? I don't know. So what a great exercise to really do and then to focus on. Like those are things I'm going to prioritize and make sure that I actually do.
Yeah. I don't know. You're a soccer star. Okay, Messi. Go.
I don't know. I don't know. I just like to do it. I wouldn't say I'm very good, but
Exactly. Yeah.
uh that's amazing. Okay, well, thank you for sharing that with us. If you guys want more, I will put the in the show notes the Kayfetz Method, and I'll link to where people can find you. To end, Alana, are you okay if we do some rapid fire questions so we can get to know
Sure.
you a little bit? Okay,
Yeah.
summer or winter?
Summer.
Same. Go to meal to cook.
Ooh. If I'm cooking for the kids, it's like grilled cheese.
Ooh,
For myself, I'll just make like a yogurt bowl with fruit and granola.
so good. Guilty pleasure.
Survivor, The Circle, and anything stupid game reality TV
No
show.
way.
Yeah.
I love it. That's amazing. Favorite holiday?
Ooh, favorite holiday. I'm like if it's secular, I like Halloween. If it's like religious, I like Rosh Hashanah that just passed because I'm a Jew.
Amazing.
So those are my two holidays. Yeah.
Dream travel destination.
I mean, I'd like to go with my husband away just to Bali, the two of us, but I'd also like to I went to
Cool.
Costa Rica by myself. I'd like to take my family to Costa Rica.
Oh, cool. I've actually never been, but Mike said he loved it. So cool. Okay. Well, thank you, Alana, for joining us. Where can people find you, connect with you?
Yes. Instagram is at Mom Halo, exactly the sound, MOMHALO. And my website is also Mom Halo. I'm on Mom Halo like everywhere. My new program is alanakayfetz.com, spelled as my name is. And yeah, this was a pleasure. I really appreciate you. This is great.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me. Bye.
Thank you so much for tuning into this episode of Your Cup of Joy. I hope you enjoyed today's conversation as much as I did. And if this episode resonated with you, or if you've been loving this show, I'd really appreciate it if you could take a moment to rate, review, and subscribe wherever you are listening. Your support helps the podcast grow, it helps it reach more people, and it means the absolute world to me. So keep filling your cup with joy, and I will see you next week.